right, so welcome to our Call of
Just
Cthulhu game.
one question, Mike. Sorry. So I was looking at items to have, and there's something called the Occult Foundation as an item, but it does say it's a mythos term, so I guess I can't have that yet.
Yeah, I would say no. You might be able to get that later, but or I mean,
Actually,
maybe you do, but you don't know what it is yet.
it wasn't written until 1980, so I don't think I can have that period.
Oh well, there you go. If it's not released by this date, then it certainly doesn't exist. I have not been through the entire list of all the different stuff that you can get, and yeah, the game does the guide goes all the way up to like modern day. And in fact, into the future, there's like future stuff too. Anyway, and time travel items. Okay, so yeah, you guys obviously have all these different reasons as to why you have come to town. Jeff, in terms of Chester, so my understanding is like you are actually like somebody who knows this forest pretty well and are from this area, correct?
So, Chester has been living in Bennington. Let me check how long. I think like 2 or 3 years at this point. Um, and in that time, he has gotten a job at the National Forest. Um, and he's had time to learn a bit of the layout of the forest.
Okay, so I included something to kick us off that involves that. I just wanted to double check. Is anybody else a local? I thought like nobody else is a local, correct?
Nora's been here for like 4 years in theory, trying to get her business going. But is from Arkham, so she traveled the distance to get here.
And everybody else, for one reason or another, has recently showed up in town. All right, so we'll launch into our little intro here. The streets of Bennington are buzzing with news and gossip about the gunfight last night on the edge of the forest. There is talk of police cars, sirens, shotgun blasts, and escaped kidnappers. The locals are saying that 3 gangsters were killed and 2 police officers were shot. Some say wounded, others say dead. Posters are going up across town saying that the sheriff is organizing a manhunt to find Lucas Strong's missing daughter and catch the escaped gangsters. Everyone in town is invited to the meeting at the police station. Rumor has it that Mr. Strong has announced a $5,000 reward for the safe return of his daughter and is willing to pay anyone who can aid in her rescue. So we launch into our setting here with a group of you have all seen these posters, heard the call that a posse is being formed to try and rescue this this hapless teenager who has been taken off into the woods, and you have decided to heed that call and have arrived at the police station. So as you get there, a crowd is forming. A couple dozen people from around town have decided to come out and join in this posse to try and help save this girl. As the group forms into the foyer of this relatively small police station, a man stands up next to the front desk, right at the front of this police station, since there's no real lectern or place for the stand that would be better. This is Sheriff Jenkins. He surveys the crowd. He's a wiry man with spectacles that look like he's held the post of sheriff forever. He's clearly a man that does not suffer fools and keeps a close eye on Bennington, even if little happens here of consequence. Under his gaze, the crowd quiets, waiting for him to speak. He clears his throat. Well, now I knew I could count on the good people of Bennington to come out and help in a situation like this. I'm sure you've heard many things about what happened last night. Much of it was likely untrue. Let me just get a few facts straight for you. Sidney Harris and his gang seem to think that Mr. Strong here would pay a handsome reward for the return of his beloved daughter, Jane. Well, he was right about that, and last night there was a handover that was arranged to pay a ransom of $10,000 in return for the safe return of Jane. No small amount of money for him to put together, but, well, he's a man of means, and he did it. We went out there with a few of the deputies just to be safe. Well, that boy Harris, he was twitchy as anything. Certainly not one of them professional criminals out of Chicago or New York. We go to make the handoff, and he pulls a heater and lets fly. We all jumped for cover, but not before 2 of my deputies took a bullet. They're doing okay, but they won't be much help keeping the peace around here anytime soon. Well, when the shooting stopped, Harris and one of his men were hightailing it back into the forest. We managed to kill a couple of his men, but we don't know how many more he's got back wherever he's hiding out. So that leaves us turning to you, good folk of Bennington, and the few outsiders good enough to lend a hand, nodding at the three of you who have recently arrived. So we need to form up a posse and head into the forest in groups to try and track down where Harris and his goons are hiding. At this time, one Lucas Strong steps up. He's a portly fellow of middle age, well-groomed, and even better dressed. He says, I'm happy to pay each and every one of you $25 a day to join in the search for my daughter. She's the light of my life, and I would do anything for her safe return. You'd also be doing me a real kindness if you came back with that bastard Harris as a lifeless corpse. I'll be quite happy to see the end of him. But first and foremost, the safe return of my dear daughter Jane is my priority, and anybody who brings her back safely will be justly rewarded beyond that daily stipend that I'm willing to commit to anybody who helps out in this cause. Turning back to Sheriff Jenkins, he says, well, folks, any questions?
Yes, excuse me. Was that Mr. Strong, the industrialist?
Yes, that's true. Although I've put away my industrialist past and I'm focused more now on local projects and government works.
Benjamin just nods a couple times and looks pleased with himself.
Did they get away with the ransom money too?
Well, I'm happy to say that they didn't, although really I prefer to have Strong's daughter in our hands and them with the ransom money to hunt them down rather than the reverse. Really, it was quite the shock. He and his gang, they didn't seem right, and they pulled their guns at the slightest provocation. We were just coming forward to do the handoff. They didn't like the look of us, and they pulled those guns out and started shooting.
Good to know. We'll be ready to start shooting back. Adjust her gun to her side.
Shooting back. And I look down to no gun on my side. So how much are we talking then? Like if we do get her back, it's $25 a day, and then what? It sounds like they're a bit trigger happy.
Well, I do suppose you're putting yourself. Oh, I got the wrong voice. Do you suppose you're putting yourself at risk going out there for me? I hadn't exactly decided how much I was willing to pay the posse that was able to bring them back, but well, let's say $2,500 split between you and your group who go out there and are successful at bringing my daughter back alive.
Sorry, how much you say then?
$2,500 is enough to more than compensates a group of you for your time and danger that you might be incurring.
I'm sure we could find agreeable terms after we return your daughter.
I'll turn to Mr. Benjamin Proctor and say, this could be something to do with the occult, you know. I think it's worth us investigating some more.
That's very possible.
Seems like a bunch of dumb criminals getting themselves in something they don't understand, but whatever you want to investigate, time's wasting.
Yeah, I'm really just here to help innocent bystander and to get his daughter back. I know what it's like to lose somebody, so I'm just here to volunteer my time and my efforts.
Just will speak up.
You don't care too much about the reward, do you?
I also have no gun.
Chester will say, I share that sentiment. And I'm willing to share knowledge of the forest and guide anybody who is agreeing to look for this young woman.
The sheriff, hearing you say that, says, "I'm glad to hear you say that, Chester. So, that's a good point for me to say. We'll divide up into groups now. You'll have a couple hours to make sure you have all the kit you need. Then you could be in the forest for some days, so pack accordingly. Also, those boys are definitely armed and willing to shoot. Finally, be mindful of hunters, strong as geologists, and other folk who might be out there. Now, as for groups, you three, pointing at Mr. Proctor, Watson, Bradley, you go over there and you see my pal Chester. And Nora, I think you should probably tag along with them too. He knows the forest better than anyone around here. You respect what he has to say about surviving out there, and you'll do just fine. Now get yourself ready and meet back here in the town square at noon. Looking over at you, Chester, he says, Chester, take them down to Spence's, referring to Arthur J. Spence Hardware and Guns, and see that they get what they'll need. He turns over to the rest of the group, which is a couple dozen locals, and he starts splitting them up, leaving you to get acquainted and see to the getting started, getting supplies.
What was the name again? Hold on.
Arthur J. Spence Hardware and Guns. It's basically the place in town to get hardware and guns.
The place that's not the general store that sells things.
Sorry, I should have had a Google Doc open to take notes.
Sheriff, how often are your townsfolk shot up and kidnapped?
I gotta say, this doesn't exactly happen often. I mean, well, we do have some hotheads around here with the forest and mining industries. I can't say we aren't accustomed to the odd fight. Maybe someone getting shot now and then, particularly these days with Prohibition. You got the gangsters coming through here running that moonshine. But, ultimately, this is a quiet town, and really it's not this kind of violence that we're used to.
See, Proctor is adding up.
Never good when the coward criminals suddenly grow a backbone.
I'm not sure where Harris got it in his head that Strong was suddenly so flush with cash that now was the time to jump on his daughter. He's been an upstanding citizen of this town for years, and he hasn't really been focused on his business anytime recently. To which Strong will overhearing this, also chime in and say, well, it's true. We've been doing some geological surveys related to the reservoir that's underway. Maybe he misunderstood that the metals that we were looking for were valuable. I mean, they might be, but we're not talking any kind of gold deposit.
Did you find anything at all in your geological surveys? Anything?
Indigenous people, maybe Indians, like previous from now, centuries ago, or?
I don't know much about the history of the area going back then, but you could well find yourself down to the library. I'm sure they'd be able to tell you a little more about it. I would say more in terms of more recently. We don't know too much about what was going on out there. Haven't exactly found anything yet, but my team's been looking into it. Freelius was caused by some signs of potential poison in the water when we were building this aquifer. We figured we had to do a proper survey before we got ourselves into hot water if we started pushing that water down to people for drinking.
And what did they find in the water otherwise? Was it contaminated by something?
Well, as far as we know so far, it seems probably like it's okay. We saw some unusual readings, and I don't really know the exact science of it, but I was advised to look into it further by my experts, and so I did. I feel like all my voices are going very slightly southern.
It's Fine, we'll get there. But they didn't see anything particularly worrisome then.
Not that I've heard. They're still out there and continuing to do their work.
Might be worth checking in with them.
It's all very fascinating. This is your local branch, I presume.
Well, in terms of my broader holdings, well, I'm more or less retired from them. As I said, really my focus is on public works now, putting my engineering and business acumen to work for the people.
How very noble of you.
One must have their hobbies.
So who is escorting us to the shops?
Chester.
Chester. Let's head on down to the shop. I feel a little bit
Inadequate.
unprotected. Yeah.
Mr. Galloway to you.
Ranger Galloway. You said it was Spencer's General Goods?
That's right. Spencer's General. Yeah, Spencer. Arthur J. Spence, Hardware and Guns.
Spence. Alright. Say, Mr. Spence will get us all outfitted as we need. Follow me, and he'll head out the door and lead them to the store.
Follow.
Yep.
I will follow as well.
I'll let somebody open the door for me.
Chester would probably.
In the group because she already knows where they're going, and just seeing you kind of stop at the door, just kind of stops behind you and waits, watches.
Chester would probably open the door and hold it for everyone.
Thank you, Chester.
So, Mr. Galloway, what does one need for this kind of excursion? I usually have the help carry the things I need.
Well, if it's going to be a couple days in the forest, like I already forgot his name. The sheriff said, we're gonna need some camping supplies. I have some of my own. I don't know if you guys have any of your own. We want to make sure we have some food, some water. I have my own rifle. If they're as trigger happy as the sheriff made him out to be, you might want to look into getting some your own protection. I have no intention to use mine unless absolutely necessary. I hope all of you share the same sentiment.
Necessary is purely relative, of course.
You think that we'll need a firearm? I suppose I could get my grouse gun out of the trunk.
As long as you know which direction to point it.
So you guys find. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
You guys find your way fairly quickly down the road to the store, and entering with the ring of a bell, you find your typical town hardware and guns store where you can find things like camping equipment and of course weaponry and ammunition, and various other supplies along those lines. Another wiry-looking older fellow is standing behind the counter. You would take this to be Mr. Spence. He nods at you warmly as you enter, particularly making eye contact with both Chester and Nora.
It's morning, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So it's just shortly after 10 a.m. Okay. You have a couple hours before noon when you're going to meet back up in the town square.
I'll give a nod towards Mr. Spence and say, "Morning, Mr. Spence. We're looking to get some gear. We're gonna go into the woods and look for the strong girl. And these fine folk here have agreed to assist in this search. So we're just looking to get some camping gear, possible some protection for in case Mr. Harris and his boys get trigger happy like they did the other day.
Well, that was a nasty business, and I'd be happy to help you, Ranger Galloway, of course. You know, you can always get the finest prices here in Spence's Hardware and Guns. Your friends there, well, it seems like you've collected quite the unusual group. Though I certainly, obviously, know Miss Baker back there. Miss Baker, I trust you probably still have plenty of ammunition left from the last stock-up.
Got a fair bit, but sounds like these fellows might be a little wiry.
Yes, he could always use more. I know. And he reaches down and pulls out 2 more cartons of 45 ammunition.
While we're at it, best top up on other essentials. Just sort of tap her tobacco pouch.
He's like, of course, the usual Indian brand.
Yes, sir.
And he reaches over to the back and he pulls out a pouch that's like a large leather pouch that he opens up, and he just grabs a handful of tobacco and throws it on the scale. Now, you other folk, well, what can I do for you?
I suppose I should be acquiring more information or ammunition as well.
And what kind of weapon do you handle, sir?
Well, 16 gauge, the gentleman's gauge, of course.
Understood. Hunter, then. Well, that'll certainly still fare you well out in the forest. And, well, maybe you'll run into some more hunters out there, though probably not your kind, looking you up and down.
Nora kind of snorts behind him and then tries to turn it into a bit of a sneeze.
He's completely oblivious.
Well, I suppose you'll be needing a few tents and bedrolls, no doubt, unless you already got some. And he'll point over to the back and yell out, James, get them some standard camping equipment. How much is camping equipment? So, like, I assume basically Chester probably has a bunch of standard stuff already.
I can tell you what I put in my possessions. I have an electric torch, some batteries, waterproof match case, camp bed, blanket, 7x7 foot tent, with the tent stakes.
It's a good sized tent.
It was the smallest tent.
There's a 7x7.
That's what I said. 7x7.
Oh, I think it's 7x10, and I realized it's not showing what's small. So yeah, okay. So that's still a decent sized tent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say stuff like so yeah, you all have at least $10 daily spending limit. So like, you're probably all fine in terms of like, if you want to pick up like a hand axe between you guys, although you probably really need that. There are like, candles are obviously pretty damn cheap. Heavy canvas shoulder bag is like $3.
Yeah, I'll buy a bag and a tent for myself, because the rest of them are all gentlemen, and it is the 1920s.
Well, Mr. Spencer, I'm going to definitely have to get myself a handgun because I came completely unprepared for this situation. I'd like to see what you have.
Well, we certainly have some options out here. Let me take you through through them. So he's going to gesture to his weapons display case for handguns, and where's the list?
I just need the easiest one you got to use. I don't intend to use it.
Well, your friend there uses a 45, and that's it's pretty common out here. You could certainly pick up one of those.
I liked it because the description said reliable.
And I guess it would probably be nice to have matching guns just in case one or the other needs some extra ammo.
So a 45 revolver is $30.
$30.
45 automatic is $40.
I mean,
How
take
much
your pick. I'm using the automatic. I don't know if it matters.
Yeah, the Colt 45 automatic M1911 is what I'm looking for.
Well, that's the one. We've certainly got a few of those. Obviously, lots of handguns kicking around after the war, and we'd be happy to give you a few of them. That's certainly $30 a piece.
I'll take one.
So he hands them to you and says, obviously, don't get yourself into trouble if you don't know what you're doing, but I trust that you know how to use one of these things if you're buying it.
I've used a few guns in my day. It's not ever been anything It's usually just been recreational. I've never had to shoot at somebody.
Well, you don't have to anytime soon.
Nora raises an eyebrow and makes a mental note to stand behind him.
So the Colt 45 was actually something I wanted to have before, but I just realized now if I'm buying it now, then it maxes out my daily spend limit.
Oh.
So can we say I had the thing or not?
Sure. I mean, you obviously have a certain amount of assets that go well above that number.
Exactly.
We have been a little loosey-goosey on the whole, like, what kind of stuff do you guys have with you? So I'd certainly give
Francis sees Thomas Watts fumbling for cash, and he'll say, If you would be amicable to carrying my goods, I would purchase this item for you.
Without a word, Nora just scoops his stuff into the bag he's just purchased and just starts heading out of the store without paying for her stuff.
And then I'll say, "Yep, look, got it taken care of for you." I'd also like to purchase 2 boxes of 145 rounds. So that's $4.43, I believe, per box of 100.
$4 even for the folks trying to help the poor little lady who's got herself trapped out in the forest.
Well, in that case, I'll take one too.
Probably a good idea when you're buying a revolver and a bunch of ammunition at the same time.
Have we purchased all of his ammunition at this point?
No, he has a lot of ammunition.
Okay.
It's a gun store.
It's a gun store. He has a lot of ammunition.
And it's America.
If this was the place to buy
Exactly.
rations, then obviously we got some of those too. Some kind of travel food stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, certainly we would say that there's probably like a dry goods and like food stuff store probably like next door. And you could certainly pop in there and grab some general supplies for having food.
I think I meant to put I had a water skin.
I'm gonna lean over to the guy selling it and just kind of not silently, but quietly say, "Is there anybody here that official, like sheriff or anybody around us, or is it just our group?"
In terms of right now, no, there is nobody particularly official. Obviously, you know that Chester is Mr. Galloway is an official park ranger, so he is to some extent a federal agent.
Fair enough, and I'm not going to do that then. I was gonna ask if you knew where I could get some liquid courage from, but that's not gonna happen. And also, do you have a gun cleaning kit that I could also purchase?
Well, certainly, you just need a simple kit for a revolver. We got a few of those right back here.
Excellent. How much are they? I'll take one.
I don't know. Let's say it's like $250.
I'm at 40. Well, don't know if Pox is paying at $42.50.
I'm not sure. I think the general idea is that, like, to a reasonable degree, stuff that is under that limit is generally fair game, unless you're really going nuts and buying a lot of stuff. And then it's stuff over that limit where we really start talking about the additional.
Dipping into your actual cash.
The thing is, though, with Thomas Watts, he's got the air in his lungs and a few sheets of paper. love waking up in the morning, not knowing what's going to happen or who I'm going to meet, where I'm going to wind up.
Speaking of which, we should very quickly roll back. Why don't you guys give a very quick description of how your character looks right now to the rest of the group?
Yeah, we totally missed that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, 100%. All right, we'll start with Dan at the top.
Me? Okay, so I have a nice haircut. It's kind of shaved at the side, parted over. It's kind of like the picture that you've seen on my profile character. Epic mustache, as I've called it, but according to my stat sheet, I'm quite ugly or unattractive. And I'm not, but yeah. So he's kind of like not like very. He's not clean looking. His clothes are not like super clean because he's been traveling and moving a lot. So you can tell that he's moved around. He doesn't really have a location where he kind of lives. He's just he's kind of scattered in that sense. He just has his, I guess, a backpack that he carries around with him with his stuff in it, and got picked up by somebody on the road. Dusty boots, dusty looking. That's probably how we're gonna go. His clothes look a bit dusty because he's traveled so much. But he seems to take care of his hair and his mustache.
Always got some pomade ready to go.
Exactly.
Gotta have priorities.
Yeah. He's about 6 foot, I think. Size. I've lost my sheet. Hang on. Yeah, my size is not there. Thought so. Yeah, there it is. 6 foot. It's 65 is the size. So I'm gonna say he's a 6 foot average build kind of guy. Not overly muscly, not overly fat or skinny. He's just an average looking kind of guy that moves around. Obviously gets stuck in what he's doing, his thoughts and stuff. Maybe a nervous jitter about him.
All right, Emma's up next.
I want a red bow tie, but you can't see the color.
Nice. Okay. Miss Baker is dressed in a reasonably well-fitted sort of vest and trousers, with a sort of leather gun harness, or Colt 45 is always at hand. But sort of wherever she goes, she still smells very strongly of tobacco smoke. And she appears to be sort of smirking a little until one gets close and sees a little scar in her lip. It looks to be like a childhood incident because the scar is sort of blown up larger than it would be if it was recent. It sort of pulls her lip sort of to the side, gives her a kind of twisted expression. It makes her kind of unapproachable. She's very sort of short cropped and lazily styled pale blonde hair that doesn't really do anything to soften her appearance. And she's a very large, muscular lady, certainly not very feminine. Sort of has a suspicious look in her eye. It's not very inviting. And the tips of the index and middle fingers of her right hand are sort of permanently stained yellow from her near constant smoking.
All right, James. Mr. Proctor.
Mr. Proctor. You can tell at first glance he's never worked a day of his life. He's pretty overweight and not particularly handsome or ugly, but he is well groomed and he's got an eye for fashion. Dressed really sharp, and his clothes and demeanor often make him a target for the local grifters. And he's naive enough that more often than not, they're rewarded with his family money for their efforts.
All right, Mr. Galloway, Ranger Galloway.
So yeah, Ranger Chester Galloway. He is actually kind of small of build. Size is only 45, so a little shorter. Kind of scrawny looking as well. But right now he would be wearing his uniform, the Ranger uniform. and his hat. He's got very short trimmed hair, and a bit of a mustache, not quite as epic as Mr. Watt's mustache, but he's got a little bit. Clean shaven on the chin, just the mustache. He's youngish, about 27. And he seems kind of laid back a little bit. Doesn't seem like too much of a talker, but talks when he needs to.
And finally, Mr. Brady.
All right. So Benjamin Brady he's not an older guy, but he's pretty old. He's 51 years old. Kind of a slim, not tall, but not short either. About 5'9" ish, 150 to 170 pounds. Kind of in between having dark brown hair to like almost black hair, hazel green eyes, clean shaven. He's usually dressed pretty clean. He's at times seems a little eclectic, a little weird, but he almost always comes off as a really nice, kind person. Pretty personable.
Great. Well, here's our intrepid group of investigators. So, is there anything else you guys are looking for immediately to buy?
Yeah.
And if not, then you still have an hour or so to kill. If there's anything you want to look into, to try and gain some additional information before you go traipsing off into the forest.
I'd like to look at this thing I read in the newspaper. It's called a Band-Aid made by Johnson & Johnson. It's just been newly released. I mean, so I just want to see if there's any of those I could buy. I hear they do wonders for wounds.
Actually, Chester has like basically a first aid kit that includes band-aids and that kind of stuff.
Nice. Yeah, Band-Aids invented in 1920. Johnson & Johnson started machine producing in 1924. They should be more available now.
So the great Johnson & Johnson history thing is that they used to be Johnson & Johnson & Johnson. There was actually founded like 3 Johnsons. Robert Wood Johnson, James Wood Johnson, and Edward Mead Johnson are the 3 founders of the Johnson & Johnson company.
I shoot someone in the head, and it's now Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah, I used to do marketing for J&J actually. That was one of my biggest clients. I did, advertising everything from Claritin to Anusol, which they insisted was pronounced Anusol and not Anusol. It's hemorrhoid cream. It's got ANUS in it, and they're like, no, it's Anusol.
I'm sure these search keywords were
not Anusol.
Search keywords were fun for that.
Anyway, a little bit of side stuff there. They do not have Band-Aids. He would say that they got good old-fashioned bandages if you want to buy them.
Do you have any libraries in town or any spiritual shops, pagan shops, or anything like that?
Well, we certainly got a library. It's right down the street over there. But I don't know about what you're talking about in terms of strange shops. I mean, well, there's my place, and there's the grocer, and there's a fancy shop for the lady folk who want to look pretty. So you could probably go there, I suppose. It is new in town, and I don't quite understand all the things they sell, but maybe that's what you're looking for. He clearly does not really understand.
So are we all responsible for our own beds, cots, tents, rather? Or
yeah, so and I was like that, and then in terms of like generic stuff, that would be like the sort of general kit stuff that like his son brought over to sell you guys.
Okay.
So I have a tent that I could probably fit one other person in.
I was about to ask, do you have your tent like on you? Like, is it something you're carrying around right now?
Probably not. It's probably like at his house or something.
How much is the basic tent you have there, and how much is that super deluxe one?
Well,
Yeah.
if you want a full 16 by 24, that's a $53 tent right there.
You don't think we'll actually have to sleep outside, do you?
Well, if you get a tent that big, you won't have to feel like it.
Forest for an indeterminate amount of time did you not understand?
He looks a little bit disgusted, and then he's I'll take the biggest tent that you have. Oh, so do you have those waterproof blankets? I don't like to get wet.
Oh, this is going to be a bundle of joy.
So he gives you a 12 by 16 tent, figuring out there's no way that you would want a full 24 by 36 tarpaulin or a 16 by 24 foot tent, which is absolutely gigantic. There's no way you could put up.
Said 12 by what?
A 12 by 16.
Is that just for you?
Just even at that size, completely unreasonable to carry and or put up.
You have any horses?
It's like, I guess it's like, well, this isn't really the area for horses, particularly not going into the forest. But well, I don't know if you really need like a Clydesdale or something, you could go down the road to one of the farms. You got a few work horses about. Nowadays, in terms of travel, well, most people got themselves an automobile if they're going far, or take the bus.
Well, I don't figure the path that we'll be taking is going to be paved or very clear for us.
I could sell you a map of the area if you want to see some more information on the forest. I would say depends on which area you're going to be starting from, but given that given that I heard that the Harris gang is found themselves a hideout deep in the forest, then well, you'll be picking your way through the trees.
I would figure that Chester would have a map of the forest.
Yes, I would 100% assume Chester would have a map of the forest, or at the very least has a good enough knowledge of the forest that he doesn't need a map.
Yeah.
Do you have a compass?
Okay.
I didn't put that in, but he probably would.
You have an excellent sense of navigation as well.
Yeah.
You said it's the Harris gang, right?
That's right.
Are they from these parts?
I suppose you could ask, but I would say yes, but they are. But there certainly is, you could go around and ask some more information from people around town if you want, or go check out the library, or ask the shopkeeper.
Yep, I was asking the shopkeeper.
They said, well, that Harris boy has been causing trouble around these parts for ages. I mean, he hasn't always been in town, but if he ain't here, then he's the next town over or the next county, and then back again when the heat dies down. Can't say he's exactly been specialized in any kind of particular criminal behavior, but seems to find himself into the thick of things easy enough.
He's been heading that way long enough.
Yeah, folks around here certainly aren't surprised. I think that it finally came to a head, though never figured it for him for one who would shoot first and ask questions later. He's an idiot, but not a violent man generally.
Interesting. I wonder if they're possessed.
Something must have spooked him pretty good.
Spooked, you say?
Well, you know, the old ladies about town always talk about the strange stories of ghosts in the woods, but well, I never paid them no mind.
What kind of stories of ghosts in the woods?
What I say about paying them no mind? Don't give a shit.
Yeah, but I mean, there could be something there. Maybe someone playing a trick, perhaps. But like, what information do you have on that?
Well, Mr. Fancy Mustache over there, I would say the information I have on it is that the lady folk talk about the ghosts in the forest. And, well, I don't know if they are really there's such a thing as ghosts in the first place.
Lady folk. Maybe
Perhaps
I do
it
want
would
to
be
go.
best to go to the source directly. I'm not
maybe.
volunteering, by the way.
Maybe I will go to that lady shop.
Good luck with that.
Are you sure you don't want to go to the lady shop, Nora? I can't really judge you in what you're wearing because look at me, I'm a dusty old geezer. Well, not I'm old, I'm young, I'm dusty geezer.
I think I'll pass for today, but thanks for the invitation. Perhaps if we have some time to kill, there is some information to be gathered. I'll meet you at the rendezvous point and sort of slip away from the group. And I want to go talk to the sheriff and see if there's anything that he might share that he didn't tell everybody.
All right. Well, I guess while you're on your way that way, where's everybody else going?
I was gonna say, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say that Chester would be like, well, if y'all are all settled here, I'm gonna go back to my house and finish getting everything together and meet you guys back at the sheriff's at noon.
Sounds
And then
good.
Give a nod and leave.
Well, Mr. Thomas, if you did, I don't really have any ambitions of going to the lady shop, but you did talk about the library, and I wouldn't mind checking out the library, whether we do that now or later.
By all means, tag on and call me Thomas.
Okay, Thomas.
Or Tommy, whatever you prefer.
Thomas is fine if you prefer that.
Yeah, Thomas is good.
So familiar. Woo!
That's what my mother used to call me. Yeah, so I'm gonna head to where I think the ladies are, at the lady shop. Benjamin, are you tagging along if we've got
Question: are you carrying all the crap that I just bought?
probably if I can.
No, I
think...
thought Nora had a bunch of
Yeah.
it, and then anything remaining would be in his bag.
Yeah.
Is it
So
pretty
you're paying
carryable? Like how manageable is that crap?
I would say that anybody who's being because Nora already walked away, she probably did not pick up the oversized tent. I would say it would be up to Thomas to make the decision as to whether he is actually going to attempt to carry a very big tent. I would say that everybody here, the person I most think would likely actually be vaguely familiar with a traditional tarpaulin tent of this size and style would be Dan.
I do know. So I'm gonna attempt to pick it up.
I could put up those tents because of all the stupid reenacting I did. Oh my god.
Yeah,
We used those at Girl Guides, so we were so small that they put the tents up for us.
So I think maybe you surreptitiously swap it for like a regular size tent.
Yeah, I will open the door for Benjamin to walk out.
Excellent. He does.
And then I'm going to allow the door to shut behind me and say, can we just exchange that for a couple of smaller tents?
I will remove the tent from the inventory.
I mean, with Chester's tent, I could fit one. Nora's got a tent. You only really need one more tent.
Yeah.
Right, so I'll switch it for one of the tents that will be okay for us.
Yeah, 7x7.
And then take the extra money. No, I'm gonna give it back to him. I'll just take the money and then I'm gonna give it back to Benjamin. I'll just say that we just found there's a hole in the tent. Is what I'm gonna tell her.
Spence looks at it and just sort of gives a shrug and hands you the money.
How much extra do I get?
You get like $25 back. No, you get like almost $40.
All right.
Wow.
So I'm going to come out with a smaller tent and say, Benjamin, as I was picking it up, we realized that there was a tear in the big tent, and he doesn't have a spare one. So
that just figures with these smaller towns.
Exactly. So he's given us this one, and here's your $40 and change back.
He just takes the $40.
You thought I was going to swindle him there, didn't you?
It would have been very easy.
Yeah,
I'm sure
you would not have noticed.
I'm British. British people don't lie.
All right, so is Proctor tagging along with Watson Brady?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go back over to Nora first. Arriving back at the sheriff's office, she finds the sheriff speaking with his deputies, discussing the layout of the forest and talking about the groups and where they're going to be splitting up while they look over a map.
Well, Sheriff, how's it looking?
Nora, well, it's definitely a bit of a shock, all of this going down so quickly and so wrong. But well, I think we can scare them out. I'm thinking that they're held up somewhere deeper into the heart of the forest. There's a few old shacks out that way, not too far from the dig site where the geologists are. That's probably the most likely place. I'm going to have your group start over by where the actual shootout happened and see if, old Chester can't follow them footprints off into the forest. He certainly knows his way around.
Seems sound enough. Any reason you can figure for what scared them so badly? Seems mighty out of character.
Oh, who knows? Maybe he's getting into the hooch and maybe it went off on him. Certainly have those strange stories coming out of the forest here and there, but, never really thought too much of him, and can't say that I ever thought him and his gang were the most sane folks in the first place.
Sane, no, but they seemed at least cowardly enough to be predictable before now.
Suppose it's true, but who knows what problems he's found himself in. He might have a hefty debt to pay and was all in on this scheme to get himself back in the black.
Money can be a powerful motivator. Well, I'll leave you to your planning, I guess, if there's no other pertinent information to share.
A stray
Be
cat walks
careful out
past.
there.
Like, I don't know what else I'd really tell you other than what you heard. I suppose, so you know, they do have a few different weapons among them, some rifles and pistols and the like, but nothing that you probably haven't run into before, given the type of work that I heard you've been doing before you came to town.
If anything, we'd hope to get there without them having time to start shooting, but worth knowing.
Well, I do think, actually, now that you mention it, that I may have winged one of them as he was running off into the forest. It wasn't Harris himself, but I think I might have gotten Eugene, his right-hand man, possibly in the shoulder or maybe in the gut as he was going on his way, but couldn't really rightly be sure with the darkness that they were fleeing into.
Might give Chester something to track at the least, and keep them distracted if nothing else. Good day, sir.
Good day to you, ma'am.
I'll head outside and roll myself up a smoke. Wait for the rest of the people.
All right, so let's switch over to Chester. What you doing at home?
Just gathering my stuff, putting it all together, and getting all the camping gear, my rifle, and some ammo together to head over.
Alrighty, and then I guess Chester Watts and or sorry, no, not Chester. Watts, Brady, and Proctor.
Head to that lady store first.
I'm just gonna stand outside and wait for them to come out. So you're just gonna see Brady kind of stand outside the female store, just kind of awkwardly standing, kind of looking around, making sure no one like looks him in the eye or just immediately looks away.
You find yourself in front of Agnes's Ladies Emporium. Opening the door, your senses are assaulted by various floral smells that waft out as soon as the door is cracked. Inside, you see copious drapery of varying pastel colors and ladies' fashions that are really honestly ranging from like very old-fashioned all the way up to like newer 1920s style stuff. Like clearly, this place caters to everything from the octogenarians all the way down to the young women of town, and has to carry just about a little bit of everything. This is not exactly your high fashion store, but tries to have at least a few newer styles.
Can I see them enter from where I am outside the sheriff's station?
Give me a spot hidden.
The first roll.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's a pretty minor roll, but let's do it. Oh yeah, extreme success. You see out of the corner of your eye a bunch of awkward-looking gentlemen standing around in front of Agnes's. You think this is pretty strange, and you immediately turn towards them to realize that this is your group.
Probably best not let people see me with them. Just sort of keep smoking, waiting for the eventual fireworks.
All right, what are you doing?
Walk up to the counter, or presumably person folding clothes and rearranging the shelves.
There's a young woman dressed relatively fashionably, albeit not in the newest of fashions, who is working to fold clothes and organize shelves, while an elderly matron stands by the counter and scowls at you as you enter.
I walk up to the counter and say, pardon the intrusion, madame. My name is Thomas Watts, and I'll bow as an introduction.
Give me give me a charm or a fast talk check.
I'll do fast talk, please. Oh no. It's bad.
Just barely.
She continues to scowl at you and says,
Can I add a bonus with
you've
my
got the right. Well, I don't think you've the right kind of person to be in here, either by wealth or by gender.
Well, of course, I understand the confusion that you may
Now,
be
I'm
having.
sure you want a handout, and you're looking for some money to get yourself on your way.
No, it's okay. He's with me.
She looks over behind him and sees this obviously far better well-off man, and says, "Oh dear me. Well, if this is your manservant, you should really take better care of him. He can't be going around looking like that if he's serving a gentleman of your such stature as you."
You do
No.
make good points, and he looks him over.
For a minor failure, this is brutal. Yes, as I was saying, madam, we are part of the party that is in search for the missing girl in town. I'm sure you're aware of her kidnapping.
Oh yes, it's a terrible thing. Dear Jane, she's one of our favorite clients too. I'm afraid that we don't see her all the time since she can afford to go to the fancier places back down in Arkham or Salem. But she certainly does take her time to stop in and patronize my humble establishment from time to time. But I do have some very fine goods if you're looking for some proper men's eau de toilette. And she looks around the corner at him, at Proctor.
Well, I'm kind of looking for some more information. Chester over at the Chester's Goods and whatever he said.
Spence.
Spence. Sorry, who's Chester?
That's me.
you.
Chester Galloway.
My bad.
Mr. Spence.
Mr. Spence was saying something about ghosts and that the ladies talk about. So, kind of looking for some more information about what that means and what better place to go to than the finest lady place in town. I assume you being the finest lady in town.
Her eyes light up at the talk of juicy gossip and tales of the forest. And she's like, "Oh, well, let me tell you, there's more going on in that forest than you might otherwise think. Why, this is not just any forest. Pretty sure it's been that there's a Indian burial ground down there going back hundreds of years that is tied to the death of some Union soldiers that ran away from the war all those years ago. Their ghosts still haunt the forest as you get deeper in, constantly battling with the Indian souls that inhabit the place.
Has anybody been physically hurt by these hauntings?
Oh goodness me, no! Just scared out of the living daylights out of them. And certainly, a few of my customers have spoken of the frights that they've had walking along the roads late at night near the forests. Well, you know, these specters, they are easier seen than interacted with. That's for sure.
And is there any other information that you know of about the? Do you know why Jane potentially was kidnapped at all? Have you had any gossip around that?
Oh well, the Strongs are very well off, very well off. Just pillars of the community. Why, if there was any one that a terrible man such as Harris would go after for squeezing some dollars out of goodly folk of this town, it would be her. Why, he loves her more than the daylight itself, and would do anything for his dear daughter. It's his only child, you know.
Yes, I imagine. I remember parents' love. And I look off into.
She is unaffected by your emotional display and looks around you again at the man who obviously has the money.
You mentioned toilets.
Why, yes, let me show. We've got the finest new scents from Paris right over here. And she shows you an array of bottles, none of which are labeled.
Just to remember there, Ben, this is a lady store, so these toilettes are potentially for ladies. Maybe Nora can have something that can mask that hideous smell.
She butts in front of you and says, "No, we have the finest scents for men as well. I'm sure you'd find this lavender scent right here very manly."
They do things differently in Paris.
Why, I could let you have. Why, I could just have a scent of this, and she sprays a little bit on your wrist and say, like, "Oh, these are very expensive to import, but I could happily part with my last one for the mere price of $45." And you hear in the background her younger assistant go.
Okay. What's it smell like?
It smells pretty good. Like it's definitely not terrible, but like it's got like a little bit of a petroleum overtone.
Is it passably usable for a man?
Yes, I would say it's not like completely like it's probably the scent that she thinks is at least relatively like possible that you would actually go for. She chose the one that she thinks is the best bet.
That does smell rather nice. Is Thomas gonna stop me from being thoroughly ripped off here?
Yes, I am.
Because he will buy it.
So I'm going to say, excuse me, I don't believe that is a fair price. I might have had a little snigger from your assistant over there, and I believe you're trying to swindle my friend. Not.
Oh, I've never heard such terrible things, but I will say that I could go a little lower on the price if you are really enchanted by it. You are obviously, your friend here is a man of distinction, and no better person could possibly wear this fine scent that we brought in from Paris, mind you. And how about $24.35?
He looked genuinely wounded at first, but lured back in by flattery and the mention of Paris again.
$20, I think, is a fair price.
Oh, I couldn't go that low. How about $22? And we'll throw in one of these fine cravats. She just pulls like a cravat out of the back. It's a little dusty. They really don't sell many cravats around here, but she has one.
$22 and I'll lean in. You can tell me where to get some liquid courage from, perhaps.
And she says, "Oh, I see. Yes. Well, yes. That's very fair. If you'll just go around the back and when nobody's looking, just give a shave and a haircut on the back door, if you know what I mean.
Do I know what she means?
You know, shave and a haircut. That's
Yeah. Okay.
That sounds quite reasonable. He pulls out just a wad of cash.
So she packs it up for you in a cloth bag and hands it over and says, "It's like, I hope that we see you again. We don't have such distinguished fellows gracing our fine shop here. Most of the men around here so rough and tumble, rugged fellows out there in the forest all the time, and they don't know the good city living."
Yes, I did notice quite a few forest people. It's good to see there's some remnants of civilization out this far.
Indeed. Well, don't let your friend there, the shabby fellow, get up to too much trouble. It seems like he's going to go and tie one on if you don't keep on top of him.
Speaking of witches, is there any rumors of any witches around here or anything like that? Any weird folk that might be?
Oh, well,
Maybe
you
it's
know,
themselves.
the legends of witches are all over this area of New England. Certainly not as common as down in Salem or Arkham, but we certainly had a few burnings going back in our history.
He visibly perks up at the mention of Salem.
Well, madam, I appreciate the insults and the information you've given me. So, good day to you, and I'm sure my friend here will be back again soon, buying some of these flower scents.
I do hope so. You take good care of your master there.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be quite sufficient.
Yeah, I look at pull up her skirt, look at it, and just put it where it's not supposed to be, and walk out.
All right. So
Library
Mr. Brady,
next.
off to the library. The library is just off the main street, down to the side, around the corner.
Okay.
Are you guys tagging along to the library as well?
Yes, please.
All right. So you find the library. It is a stout single-story building built out of cinder block, quite sturdy. Clearly, some investment has gone into establishing a reasonably nice library in what is like a mid-sized, smaller town in Vermont. You approach the heavy wooden doors, and it creaks open to a vaguely musty and somewhat dimly lit interior. Lined with many shelves of books, though clearly well stocked, and a octogenarian librarian with very thick Coke bottle glasses looks up at you and says, "Well, now then, close the door. Come on in. What is it that you're looking for, sir?"
Well, Brady will just kind of look back at the others and kind of look back and, sir, we're just trying to maybe find maybe some newspapers or just I just kind of want to get a general feel of the history of this town and maybe anything about the forest.
Yes, there was mention of some Indian burial ground. I'm quite curious about what it was.
Oh, you've been speaking to Agnes, have you? Well, I wouldn't put much in stock in the Indian burial ground. There are the odd rumors about the forest, but, well, most of them come back to superstitions of the people who live in the area. It gets quiet in there, I'm sure. I remember going in as a lad for hunting trips with my own father. But certainly nothing too strange ever happened. But I can certainly help you with the archives. Come this way. and he beckons and leads you to a wooden gate that opens into a rear section of the library where you can see boxes cataloging the local Gazette, Bennington Gazette, that go back many years. You'll be thankful that we have kept all of the old Bennington Gazettes going all the way back in excellent condition. You should be able to find anything you need here if you if you know your way around a library. Looking you up and down, he seems to think that that is probably the case. And if you're looking for any of the general town records, well, they're all in those books over there on the right-hand side as well, gesturing at some thick, heavy bound books that, like that, that line the wall on the other side. If there's anything specific you're looking for, let me know. But honestly, there isn't a lot of interesting history here. There is certainly some newer information regarding the efforts to establish the aquifer and the work that Mr. Strong has been doing. If you go back, though, well, not a lot about the forest other than these Union soldiers that got lost all those years ago.
Union soldiers, you say? I believe Agnes mentioned that they were involved with a scuffle with the natives.
Oh, well, she's embellishing again. Basically, there was just a handful of boys from these parts, definitely a stain on the record of this town, but they decided they weren't up for the fight during the Civil War, and they thought they might escape to Canada. They may well have done so, but the last record we have of them is their disappearance into the forest back in all those years ago.
Sorry, you said Union soldiers disappeared in the forest?
Yes.
Do you have any books on ghosts, witches, pagans?
Well, I can show you over to the children's fiction section over here.
Magic.
If you're looking for the legends of the area, we do keep some books along those lines over in this area. Again, not the most trustworthy of things, but you might find something interesting.
I appreciate it, and I'll head over there to look at the stuff that's there.
Alrighty.
Looking for anything.
Give me library rolls, you guys, if you're trying to get more additional information.
I'll be looking into those books he mentioned about Lucas Strong and his efforts with the local reservoir or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah,
I will say that. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to backtrack just a little bit. Whenever I heard, when I heard Proctor talk about the rumored Indian burials in the forest, it would have definitely piqued my interest. So I would have been kind of excited and kind of had like a look on my face. And I guess as the librarian was taking us back to the other section of the library, I probably would have maybe asked Proctor about that. Because I wasn't there to hear it, so.
I'll relay what we heard.
Okay. Yep.
I'd like to use some of my luck points. 9.
Oh yeah, you could do that. Remember, you can also push rolls if you have a reason for which you would get another roll. But if you get it, if you fail again, then it's significantly worse.
Yeah, I'm just literally looking for like occult information because that's what I'm literally trying to discover. Things have piqued my interest enough to suspect something weirder is going on in this town, even though the story of the kidnapping sounds completely fine and normal. But the mention of ghosts and Indian burial grounds and weird stuff going on has definitely sparked something that I want to investigate more, because that's the reason why I headed to this area in the first place, of other stuff I'd read.
Alrighty. Okay. Oh, are you also going to do a library roll, Brady?
Yeah, I would like to, maybe.
So I will say, though, he will specifically tell you, there is a note here about this.
I pull a book down from the top shelf, and an even bigger book falls and hits me in the face.
What is that, guys? Trying to find a note. Yeah, so the librarian does say to you, Brady, that Mr. Brady, that he says, like, well, the legends of the burial ground honestly go back a very long ways, but it's hard to say whether they really are true. We honestly have never found any actual archaeological evidence of any such thing. But at the same time, no real significantly properly done scientific study has ever been undertaken of the forested area. Our own Ranger Galloway might be the person who knows the most about the forest currently in town. And he might have some idea of what he's seen out there. There certainly have been people who have lived amongst the trees at different times in the past, and there are tribes that have lived here previously to that, as far as we know. But I can't say there's any modern evidence that has been unearthed in recent years that would support this historical concept.
Okay. So, would you have any works of maybe tribes that have been in the area or were previously known to be in the area?
Oh, I don't know really. There might be some books that cover it. I mean, pretty generally, like this area, the surrounding area, not specifically this forest and this town.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess Thomas rolled next and use some luck. Oh no, that was a fast one before, and then you should luck. Okay. Anyway, well, I'll say that one. So you go and you take a look around specifically at their more unusual books. Yeah, I would say you haul down or maybe not quite like in terms of a single book, but like as far as like reading some of the stories of the area and some of the like stuff that people have like published and things talking about some of the like stranger goings on. You would see that there is generally a common theme of strange ghostly figures in the forest. But like basically beyond that, there isn't anything that's very hard hitting. And that really, to some extent, these legends about an Indian burial ground really aren't very prevalent. More than sort of like 100 years ago, and seem to be more of almost a recent phenomenon as far as local legends go.
Okay. Anything on the occults?
So yeah, basically in terms of like occult goings on, like really it comes down to like the ghost stories and stuff. That there isn't anything specific to this area as far as like other like occult things happening.
With the older looking books that I hear, any symbols I recognize being occult symbols?
No.
That's kind of the agenda that I had at the library.
It's not a huge library. Yeah, like I would say that the things about like the legends and stuff are probably the most relevant thing. And that like yeah, I mean as far as like occult themes, obviously there are like a bunch of different ways in which people have like ascribed potential like potential reasons why these things are happening and stuff like that. But like there's nothing that's really particularly hard hitting or like assigned to like a specific common like occult like or something like that.
So I guess the only other thing that I would probably want to look up is maybe through either asking the librarian or even looking in past records of like newspapers to see if there was like any like standout deaths that maybe derived from the forest or like anything in the news that people knew of, like, oh my gosh, this person got really just slaughtered. or something?
Basically, that like one of the common things that he'll mention is say it's like, well, we haven't exactly had people go missing per se. But I will say that if you talk to the hunters around here, I mean, I was one in my youth as well. Like, we never particularly strayed deep into the forest. It seemed like going closer to the forest heart, you just wouldn't see much game. And honestly, you'd normally think that that would probably be different. That the deeper into the more untouched lands, you'd have a better chance of finding game out there. But it just wasn't the case. The deeper you went, the quieter and stiller the forest became.
Okay. Yeah, that would that definitely helps.
All right, so Mr. Proctor, looking at recent information, you find out fairly complete information about how Mr. Strong is basically they're building out the new Somerset Reservoir, named after an old village that is now a logging community that lives deeper into the forest. Basically, what they found there was traces of odd mineral deposits. Like you would know enough about business and stuff to see that. What they ended up seeing was unusual mineral traces in the water, and because these things were difficult to analyze, it basically flagged with the local water board that more information was needed before they could finalize the okay for the reservoir plans. So an entire group of geologists and mineralogists were hired by Mr. Strong, and there's various coverage in the recent news articles talking about how this group has shown up in the last few weeks and has started to make their way into a site deeper into the forest where they're doing several different sites across the forest. They're doing excavations to look for specifically these mineral deposits that would be creating this potential contamination in the water. But as of yet, there's no reports of them finding anything.
All right, all right.
All right, anything else, guys, before you meet back up in the center of town?
Yeah, I want to stealthily go back to behind that lady's shop and do the rat-a-tat-tat on the back.
All right, I guess
want to make sure that I'm hidden there, right?
Give me a stealth roll to kind of get it. I guess, are you gonna say anything to your group, or you're just gonna fuck off?
Just gonna detour off and say I'll be back, Ben. 1 second. I wanted to ask Agnes one more thing.
All right. Wow, you're very stealthy now. Good thing you fixed that, I guess. You get over to the back of the store without anybody really noticing, to the back of Agnes's shop, and you give a little rap to tap tap on the back of the door. And you see a bald-headed, paunch-gutted man open the door and look around and say, "Where did you get that knock?"
Your shopkeep at the front.
Agnes. All right, what are you looking for?
Some liquid courage, basically. We're heading into the forest to basically get shot at and shoot people to try and get little Jane back. What's her name? Little Jane Spencer, was it? Strong. Little Jane Strong back. So,
Good as reason as any. Well, as long as you make sure you don't tell anybody where you got this stuff. Well, I got one drink. What size do you want? Small, medium, or large?
We'll stick with a couple of smallies.
All right, that'll be 75 cents.
I'll give him 75 cents. How small is small there?
It's probably a solid 12 ounces.
12
of
ounces?
Gin, bathtub gin.
All right, what's the medium size?
The medium sizes would probably be a gallon.
Gallon, jeez, that's pretty obvious. Yeah, I'll take 2 of the small ones, and it's 75 cents, you say?
Yeah.
All right, I'll give him $1 and just say, remember my face. I'm sure I'll be back.
Oh, I ain't forgetting faces. Particularly if they cross me. He like looks at you.
Don't worry, Agnes. I won't cross you.
I can't say you look like the most upstanding gentleman that's ever come around these parts, so I ain't too concerned.
But I'm trustworthy, that's the thing.
Oh, I know. I don't need to worry about whether you're trustworthy. Just need to worry about whether you bleed.
Fair enough. So yeah, did I take 2 bottles or 1?
2.
2, great. So I'll knock off 1 buck. And I'll join out with the group.
All right, let's take a little break. Pee break. This is probably a good point to do it. So it's approaching noon, and you guys gather back in the town square with your various packs and equipment and so on, all ready to go. Each in your little groups surrounding the main sort of gazebo or whatever in the center of the square, and the sheriff is there. He looks at each of you, each of the groups, and starts jumping into the overall outlay of the actual forest. He points out where Bennington is on the map that you can see in front of you, and that the forest extends along the county line to the east, going northward. And that they expect that somewhere east of Shaftesbury or East Arlington, possibly towards north of Somerset, is where they expect that the people might be found, or that the gang might be found. Then he mentions that. Basically, that the groups are going to spread out from basically North Bennington along to where the shootout happened between Bennington and Woodford, to start working in a pattern across like the forest to work north and to try and figure out. Oh, Jesus Christ, guys! To try and find out where where the gang is. He looks towards your group and points specifically to, says, like, well, this is where the shootout the other night happened. My deputy over here, Sanders, will take you across to where you'll be starting out. As I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty sure that old Chester here will probably be one of the best people possible to try and track them where they actually ran through the forest. So you make sure you got his back when you're out there, and well, you need to stay safe. Beyond that, there's also, of course, there's the crew out there looking into the mineral deposits. You're unlikely to run into them. There is a small road that goes up to the old logging town where they've set up. But if you do run into them, make sure that they're okay. Anyway, if you guys want to go along with Sanders, he'll take you on your way. Anything you guys want to say before you head off?
Would you kindly point out Mr. Strong's operations? I think it quite likely that the Harris gang might further harass them.
Well, it's not too far from the lake north of Somerset. Basically, if you take a look on the map for the rivers that go north of there, it's where that would be the area where you'd probably find them around here. We're expecting them probably somewhere deeper in the forest to the west of that spot, but, well, you never know. You'll have to see where your tracking takes you.
So where on this map is the city of Bennington?
Oh, I think I can actually, hold on, you guys can't see. I believe I have things. Here we go. Oh, fun! You can't see any of the names?
No.
Strong survey is what I can see.
I just
Number
put that down.
Oh. Whoa, now I see everything. Southern Vermont.
Yeah, there we go.
Horror and death amongst the Green Mountain.
Where was the shootout? Oh, it's still going on. Never mind.
Is it by the
All right,
Woodford Reserve?
two is the shootout.
Is that why the Woodford Reserve is made, Mike?
I don't think so. A bit far north for that. Good old Manchester. Oh no! Don't look at the thing at the top. Crap.
I went to look at it, but I didn't see it. I scrolled down as soon as you said that.
Where the heck did I? Okay, Legend's gone again. All right, let's see. Then we can see. Okay, there we go. Now you can see a bunch of stuff. It's probably not quite everything, but it's enough stuff. Okay.
I
Okay.
just put down the survey spot in the shootout.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, you guys head on down the road, and it takes another hour or two to walk over to where the shootout happens. Or I suppose no, you'd probably hop in the back of a truck that they would have to bring you out there. That makes a lot more sense to me. So arriving at the scene of the shootout from the previous night, there is a newly formed clearing about 100 yards across on the edge of the forest, forming part of a wider area marked for logging. A dirt track from the main road heads over a small field to the edge of a clearing. It is littered with short stumps and a couple of piles of fallen tree trunks surrounded by tall looming trees that stand close together. Scattered over the site is evidence of the events of the previous night. Discarded shotgun shells and bullet casings, bullet holes in the trees and stumps, and a couple of heavy bloodstains where the police officers were gunned down. The area is otherwise still and ominously quiet. From here, you are directed by the area. The direction you should be going is vaguely northeast. What do you guys do?
Well, first, if he tries to usher us into like a pickup truck, I just signal my driver. There's zero chance he's getting into like the back of a truck.
Okay, so you follow along in your private vehicle.
Yes.
I head with Benjamin.
You hop on in. Do you make him sit in front?
Yes.
Do you not have like one of those fancy cars where we can sit opposite each other in the back?
That's fair. He'd probably want to chat a little bit.
All right. So yeah, you guys arrive and you get out of the various vehicles to find yourself, yes, in this clearing. And it is up to you to decide how to.
So, we were driven by the deputy.
That's right. Yes, one
What
of the
was,
deputies.
what was his name?
Deputy Sanders.
I'll thank Deputy Sanders. Just say thank you for the ride out here. I guess we'll get to work, and I'll start surveying the scene.
Hey, Tom, Ranger Galloway. Don't laugh at my high-pitched voice.
I'll just give him a nod and kind of turn to the scene and did Nora tell me about the person who got shot on the other side, on the Harris's side?
No, she did not mention it yet, but as we are starting to look around the scene, sort of come over and point out the sort of obvious blood splatters. Hey, Those look like they were most likely the sheriff's men, but he's pretty sure he wounded one of them. We should look for a trail.
He says, that's good. If they left a blood trail, that'd be a little easier to follow. I guess I'll start looking for signs of their path through the forest.
Yeah, well, I guess give me a general spot hidden roll or a track roll.
Okay, spot hidden's a little better than track, so we'll go with that one.
Oh, it's our first critical success of the
Nice.
game. A 1.
Holy
Nice.
shit.
I know exactly where they are.
You very clearly see the trail leading off into the forest, and can certainly get started on that trail. I will say that we'll be doing more track rolls as we get further into the forest, but like in terms of like getting started, you are quite confident of the direction you need to go to get on the right path. Is there anything else you guys want to look at while you're here?
So the shootout happened like on the edge of the forest. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll kind of like follow the trail until it hits like the tree line, and then I'll look back and say, I think I found where they went into the forest. We just follow this. We should find them. It might be a little harder once we're in the thick of it to follow, but at least we got something to go on here.
That's good to know. While he was looking around for the trail, I just wanted to take a look at like the actual scene of the fight and see if anything seems odd or sort of doesn't match up to like the description of the events that we were given.
Sure. I would say I guess that is also a spot hidden roll.
I'm gonna use a couple points of luck for that. What else is it for?
So tempting.
Totally.
I feel like I'm gonna forget that's a mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the optional mechanics. I'll certainly remind you when you guys fail occasionally. Not to mention, of course, pushing rules. Okay, so you take a careful look around. Nora takes a careful look around the crime scene, the situation here. She does notice a surprising amount of shells, particularly on the side of the gang. Looking at like where the different bullets have hit and so on, it looks like they must have frantically unloaded their weapons. They were like firing wildly into the people on the other side in a way that does not indicate any like serious concern for their particular aim or goal. It was maybe possibly just luck that they happened to hit a couple of the sheriff's deputies in the firefight the night before, considering the sheer volume of rounds that they unloaded in what was apparently a very short period of time. You would know from your experience using weapons that firing at such a rate would not be accurate.
Strange. They seem to have done a lot of shooting in a very short amount of time. Something scared them really good, or they weren't thinking clearly.
Was the shooting in all different directions?
Shooting too fast to be careful about it, that's for sure.
I was about to quote Predator to you then.
Mr. Proctor has retrieved his shotgun, a hunting cap, and is now walking over with a camera to photograph the crime scene.
As you get closer, just like stinking of lavender, Nora kind of looks up. It's like, you best not be planning on using too much of that once we're in the forest. Every critter in the area is gonna stay clear or try and eat us.
He just looks down his nose at her.
So he's wearing proper hunting gear in the full.
Yes. He brought a spare change of clothes for hunting because he figured he'd get some hunting done. But I would like to photograph the scene.
All right. So it takes you a few minutes, obviously. Do you have like a very expensive camera? Do you like? I think at this point in time, like if you have a very expensive camera, it's relatively quick to set up, but otherwise, it's like a pretty lengthy process.
It was whichever one was pricier.
Okay, so you're able to like relatively quickly set up your camera and take a fairly good quality photo of the scene, and then presumably pack it away in the car, or are you going to haul it along with you?
It's a good question.
You would, in terms of going into the forest, obviously, from my understanding, virtually like all cameras of this era, if you're in poor light conditions, require you to use flash powder, and flash powder must be prepared at the time.
I didn't see any flash powder in the to sell, like on the investigator handbook. So
I'm not sure what the deal with that is. I just remember reading something about the 1920s in photography, basically indicating that like dim light photography was a bit of a pain in the ass.
Absolutely, and it specifically said it was like it.
Light, yeah, you have to have like flash powder, and it's kind of a to-do.
Like when it talked about the camera, it mentioned flash powder and said it was dangerous and explosive and flammable, and then there's no flash powder in the buy list or anything.
Weird. I guess I don't know. I guess it's a thing you can just get. It's just it comes down to that it's like time-wise a pain in the ass.
Mr. Watts, would you mind? And he offers the camera.
Would I mind?
Kind of waggles at him a little bit.
When I'll I guess I'll take it and see if I can fit it in my bag.
He tips him whatever the average tip is for carrying
15
items.
cents.
So you dress like Elmer Fudd?
Basically.
Oh my god. Very quick interlude. One of my friends growing up, when we all went away to university, you had to fill that thing out for your, like, if you go into residence about who do you want to, like, live with, as far as your like, dorm partner. He literally was just like, I don't know, they're going to give me some rando person anyway. And he wrote Elmer Fudd. And literally, they managed to find him a dude who was like 19, balding, super into hunting, and just otherwise had no personality.
That's hilarious. I'm gonna look around the forest, the tree trunks, anything hanging down for like weird symbols made out of twigs etched into trunks and stuff like that.
Sure. Give me a spot hidden.
And we might as well just say that's a fail because my spot hidden is poopy.
Yeah, you take a look around. You certainly see some like human scratchings, but like it may have just been like just from the people coming and going, doing logging and stuff like that. Nothing that really comes out to being meaningful to you.
But it is to me. Kidding.
Oh, remember if you have a successful use of your skill to check the box next to that skill on your skill sheet.
What do you mean, sorry?
So if you successfully use a skill, like you did with stealth earlier, check the box on your skill sheet. It's like a little radio button. What happens at the end of the scenario is you have an opportunity to roll to improve that skill.
Ooh. Didn't I know that?
Instead of leveling up, basically, like you got a chance to roll, and if you roll over the skill number rather than under it, then you can roll a d10 to increase that skill.
Oh.
The idea being that if your skill is garbage and you successfully use it, then you're virtually guaranteed to skill up. If your skill is really good and you use it, then it's very unlikely that you'll skill up.
Sorry, did I fit that camera in my bag?
No, you have to kind of strap it to the back of the bag. It's a little large for actually fitting into the bag directly.
When I get that on there, I'm gonna like etch in on my bag, like draw on a pen, a protection symbol that I am aware of in the occult.
Sure. I guess give me an occult roll. Let's see what. Sure. Okay. All right. You scroll a very nice occult etching. All right, you guys are following following into the forest.
Yep.
All right, so as you're heading on your way, you are working your way through the forest, following the Ranger Galloway. You're making your way along. I would say after about 30, 40 minutes of following this track, you start to lose the trace of it. I would say like 2 people can give me tracking rules.
Guess I'll be one of those 2.
Yeah, probably a good idea. Well, that's certainly fine. Ranger Galloway continues to be able to easily follow the course, the trail of these steps going off into the forest. It's still definitely like a regular forest. You hear the sounds of the odd birds flitting by, like some noises of like animals in the underbrush. Generally, a relatively pleasant day out in the forest. Nothing too crazy going on. As you continue on for about another 45 minutes, you are like going through, hill and dale and working your way through the underbrush. It's definitely not super easy going. And I would say, yeah, you once again have some difficulty following the path. So I guess give me another 2 tracking rules. Well, Chester on it again. No problem. Just barely got that one by 2 points. Chester, very confident, continues on his way. You're now a few hours into trekking through the forest. You see the occasional glimpse of like a deer running through the thickets. Yeah, so like in terms of how you're all dressed, basically we've got Mr. Proctor, who's in like proper hunting garb. Obviously, Mr. Galloway, Ranger Galloway, who is in like a proper ranger outfit for traversing the forest. Does anybody else changed from how they were looking before?
No, I didn't even think about it. Just in my charcoal grey pants, probably some like working boots, dress boots perhaps, and regular jacket, tweed maybe.
Yeah, Nora grabbed some like boots instead of her dress shoes, and like a sort of matching jacket to go with the rest of her suit, and she's now wearing her dark gray fedora as well. But otherwise, she's still dressed fairly.
All right, everybody, give me a listen roll.
I'm gonna use 10 points on my listen. No, actually, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, you don't want to get too crazy with your luck usage, because remember, there are also luck rolls. So if you spend a lot of your luck and you make a luck roll later, you'll be more likely to fail it.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna leave it as is.
All right. So once again, Chester coming to the plate. Yeah, we got everybody there, right? Yep. Chester, very familiar with the sounds and sights of the forest. Signals to the group suddenly to stop. Chester, you hear up ahead the sound of a twig breaking.
Okay, I'll just like hold up my hand, signal everyone to stop, and just wait.
Like
look
you said,
back
I was about to high five it.
Nora is going to very quietly and slowly draw her handgun.
Thanks to, in particular, oh, it says James over there. Let's say James, Mr. James. Mr. Proctor, wearing proper visible hunting garb. You hear a voice call out and says, hey, put the gun down, boy. We've got other people out here. And a man steps forward wearing hunting garb, holding a shotgun in one hand, and signals for his son to come out and says, "You there! Careful while walking around these forests. Obviously, it's Chester. Good to see you."
Do I recognize this man?
Yeah, you would recognize him as where is it here? You would recognize him Alistair Lawson and his 14-year-old son, George. You would have run into him in the forest in the last week. He is here teaching his son how to hunt.
Shoot. Sorry. Yeah, I would just kind of give a nod and a hand wave and say, "Oh, sorry there, Mr. Lawson. We're just uh, looking for um, the strong girl. This is a little search party that we've been gathered to track the Harris and his boys through the woods. Sorry, from just what we've heard, everyone's a little on edge, looking for these hooligans."
Oh, obviously, we haven't been back to the town for like a good week now. We've been out here, but I suppose we're due to head back soon. Horrible to hear that things are going wrong back there. But well, we've been mostly sticking to the edge of the wood. Well, if like if you must, sorry, like I gotta say, my poor boy, he's been having some weird nightmares, and he's a little bit on edge. So we've been trying to stick close to home if we need to head back. My buddy Brian and his son Arthur, they certainly headed further in looking for good game.
What kind of game do you find around these parts?
Oh, you know, venison, deer, basically the same thing. Sometimes we might get the odd game birds flying over at the right time of year, obviously. What with the.
Oh, is there any grouse? I do quite like hunting grouse.
How was the kid that he said has nightmares?
Are grouse in this right area? Hold on, range grouse. I'm looking it up. Wiley. I'd say, it's like, yep, there certainly are grouse to be found. What was that, Dan?
He's asking, how old is the kid that he said is having nightmares?
The kid is like 14.
Hey kid, you haven't. When you're done your bit, I'm gonna talk to the kid.
Sure. So yeah, do you want to say something else?
I'll ask Mr. Lawson. So you said you've been out here for about a week now. You wouldn't happen to have heard or seen anything strange in your time out here?
No, nothing strange. I mean, we've been out here hunting. We've seen a few seen some good animals. Pretty normal hunting, and yeah, certainly no sign of the escaping gang. Hopefully, you have a good chance of finding them. Apparently, you must have followed their trail this way. We probably just missed them.
Yeah, we've been following their tracks through here. It was yesterday that this happened. Last night that the shootout happened.
Strange, we didn't hear any sounds of the shootout, but we were pretty deep in the forest, relatively speaking. We've come closer only in the last day. I guess the only thing that we've really heard is the sound of trucks on the road heading up towards the old logging camp.
And that would be normal.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll be like, sorry to spook you, Mr. Lawson, but I guess we'll be on our way, and y'all stay safe.
You too. We won't be here too much longer. I swear all my NPCs are starting to sound the same. So yeah, Dan, you were going to try and talk to the kid?
Yeah, I was gonna say, hey kid, what kind of yeah, having nightmares? I hear. I used to get those a lot too when I was around your age.
I don't have any nightmares. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, your dad just said you're having some. It's okay, man.
Dad, what the heck?
Hey, I was just curious. Like, what is it? if you don't
Look,
mind.
it's fine. I've had some nightmares. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm fine. I'm going on a hunting. I'm going hunting, and my dad, he's proud of me. I'm a big man.
Yeah, of course you are. Of course you are. Hey, I used to have nightmares, and look at me. I'm doing all right for myself. It's okay. If you, what, what were you dreaming about? It's okay.
Look, I don't know. Like, it's not that bad. It's just, it's like sometimes water, like, like maybe drowning.
That's the worst kind. Sorry, kid. Can't help you there. Just
I feel
stay
like
away
I
from
make you do a
water.
sanity roll now, but I'm not gonna. It's a little early for that. You just mentioned it.
Stay away from water. That's the only advice I've got. There's nothing but bad news with the water.
You just gave
Well,
this.
apparently, but I don't. I'm a good swimmer. Like, I don't know why I'm having these weird dreams. It's just whatever. It's fine. I'm not scared.
Good. You stay brave, young one. And I'm only like 10 years older than him, so.
God damn, I'm 14. His dad says, I'm gonna wash up your mouth with soap when we get back for taking the Lord's name in vain. Like, no, Dad. Ah. Well, we won't get in your way, but if you are going deeper into the forest, keep a keen eye out for Brian and Arthur. You can't miss Brian. He's a big old Texan hat that he brought with him to keep out the sun. There's also when we were going in deeper, we saw a group of artists. They are up here from like Boston, some kind of fancy city folk who like doing paintings and things. You might see them around. They hopefully haven't run into any trouble with the gang. I mean, they certainly don't know how to handle themselves. They don't have a gun between them.
Cheers, kid.
We had to say that in the dad's voice and just totally accepted. Dad would have told you that. Roll back. Dad weirdly went high pitched for a little bit. The dad told you about that they ran into him. Yes, University of Boston. It's like, yeah, they were painting like wildlife and stuff. Whatever floats your boat, I suppose.
Chester would be like, yeah, I think I heard about them coming through. Hopefully, they didn't run into Harris. He seemed pretty spooked, from what I hear when they were running back through the forest.
Well, good to know there's trouble out here, so we'll try and stay out of the way. And well, good luck to you.
Just give him a nod and kind of make sure everybody's following before heading back, following the trail.
All right, I guess give me one more, two more, one more each. Two different people rolls for track.
Can't fail.
Oh,
Very
right.
well.
Can't fail to
Super
say
tracker.
anything.
Manhunter. So Chester quite adeptly and astutely leads you on your way deeper into the forest. You continue to trek farther on, and as you continue on your way, the light starts to wane, and you can tell that it's getting darker now. As it's getting to the point where you're probably going to have a hard time picking your way through the forest in the dark. You could choose to light some lanterns and try and keep pushing on, but there is a few clearings that you pass as the later hours start coming in, and you can find yourself a good place to camp for the evening.
As soon as it's dark, there's a flashlight that goes off from Mr. Proctor.
I would probably turn to the group once it was starting to get dark and be like, we could probably push on a little longer. I got a flashlight of my own. I see Mr. Proctor's got one too. But we probably don't want to be moving too much later. I'll leave it up to you guys when we camp for the night.
Give me a hard track roll. So the top of your sheet is a hard like regular hard street thing?
Well, I was gonna see if they wanted to keep going or
Oh,
not.
okay.
That's what I was asking.
Well, we could press on, but get the feeling not everyone here is 100% familiar with setting up a tent. We might want to do it while we still have some light.
Well, we do have these flashlights. I'm sure things are the same with the flashlight as daylight with tracking.
Jester says, once you get into the forest and with the trees blocking even the moonlight, flashlight well, it does help a little bit, but you really only got that the little cone of vision, and anything outside of that is well, real hard to see.
Well, don't you just follow the blood or whatever?
If it was only that easy. But if we want to keep going for a couple more hours or so, and then look for somewhere to put up camp, I'm fine pushing on.
Well, it sounds like Miss Baker wants to quit for the day, so we can set up camp.
Yeah, I would have to agree with her. Having the light, with us all not being very savvy with putting up tents, is probably a great idea. Need all the help we can get.
All right. Well, you guys certainly can find a clearing, as I mentioned, a place to set up camp. Do you have a particular breakdown of responsibilities for camping?
Nora's gonna set up her tent, and then she's gonna lean against a tree and roll a cigarette.
Mr. Proctor just watches Mr. Watts set up the tent. Zero offers for help.
Jester set up his tent, and I'll look over at Benjamin, and be like, I guess we can share a tent. There's enough room in there.
Yeah.
And then once he sets it up, he'll kind of look around and see what everybody else is doing, and then kind of sigh, and then start doing all the other stuff that needs to be done for a proper camp.
As soon
And I'll
as Mr. Watts sets up the tent, Mr. Proctor goes inside.
While I'm setting up the tent, though, I would have been talking and saying, "Hey, so I think I'm supposed to be here. You know, like something drew me over here, and then I'm gone on this mission. There's news of ghosts and Indian burial grounds and ghosts, which seem to be more recent times. So I'm not sure about the validity of the Indian burial grounds. And then I come across a kid who's had nightmares specifically about my past. I think it's all connected."
Is there drowning in your past, Mr. Watts?
Yes, there is. Something we haven't spoken about as we've only just met, but
Oh, that's a good point. We've been traveling together all day, and we've never really properly introduced ourselves.
no.
I'm Mr. Benjamin Francis Proctor. You might have heard of my family, the Proctors.
Can't say I have, to be honest. As you can tell from my accent, I'm not from these parts. I've only been in the country for a few years, and with those few years, it's because I was a survivor of the Titanic, the tragedy that happened.
Such a tragedy.
It was indeed, and I don't know what caused the tragedy. Don't believe what you read in the newspapers. Something different went down. I'm sure of it. And that's what my path has led me to, and that's why I'm here now.
It is a bit of a strange coincidence that the youth was having dreams of drowning.
And that ties specifically to something that happened in my past.
We should probably keep our distance from the water.
I agree. With water, it brings nothing but trouble.
Bad omen.
Sinking the unsinkable. How is that even possible? Something else did this, I'm telling you. And I'm going to prove it right. And then I finish doing the tent.
I would definitely offer a hand though to help.
Yeah, because I have no clue what I'm doing.
Neither do I, but two heads are better than one.
Chester would probably, once he's put up his tent, look around and see if anybody needs help, and probably finish putting up the other tent for Mr. Watts, and then look about setting up a campfire and getting something cooking to eat.
Well, Mr. Brady and I have been introduced. We've met previously. He helped assess a family beach house we were selling in York Beach. And Mr. Watts was a hitchhiker that I picked up along the way to Bennington. I take it you're a local, Mr. Galloway?
Uh, you could say that. I've been in Bennington for about 2.5 years. I was originally from Washington D.C., but big city life didn't suit me. So I moved around a little bit, drifting from town to town, till I landed in Bennington, and big forests out here seemed like a good spot to lay some roots down.
There is something quaint about the silence you find in these small towns. What about you, Mrs. Baker?
Well, I've been here a few years now. Can't say it's home necessarily, but it's different at least. Just trying to make a career.
There was something that I did want to ask. Would Chester be the only ranger in this area?
Yes, there would probably be like there might be other rangers who would stop in to like check on you and like some back and forth, but
Okay.
like beyond that, in terms of being stationed in this area, you'd be the only ranger.
Okay.
All right. Anything else you guys want to do while you're setting up for your camp for the night? So I will say that yes, you gather around a campfire that fortunately Chester is quite adept at building, and cook up some beans and rashers. Nice serving of some like good old hearty food. Portioning it out and basically quietly enjoying each other's company and discussing amongst yourself a little bit more about your backgrounds and who you are and what your goals are, if you would do so, or listening in otherwise. You return to your tents for the night to rest. I guess you could keep watch for the night if you want to do that. Anybody gonna keep watch? I would say Chester would know that there isn't much reason to be concerned about this, normally.
I would fashion a protection symbol out of twigs and probably hang it near my tent.
Give me the cult roll.
Sorry, my sheet. There it is. Occult, you down there?
You make a very nice warding symbol.
I can't roll below a 50, and then Chester's done it all night below 50s.
Yeah. Chester,
Are you particularly? Are you trying to hide it when you're putting up the ward?
Nope. It's just part of my character, who I am.
Could I discern what the symbol might mean or what it might be inspired by?
Sure, you can give me a cult roll.
Hell yeah.
You are not familiar.
Hell no.
Push the roll. Stay up all night. Unfortunately, this is not one you're familiar with. All right. So, you guys, unless there's anything else, you guys are heading to bed and getting your good night's sleep.
You'll notice Mr. Proctor takes indigestion medicine after the meal. He also uses Listerine mouthwash and offers it to anyone who will take it.
I'll say, no, thank you. I've got my stuff here. And wave my
Nora
little
lights
bottle.
another cigarette and ducks into her tent.
Everybody give me, I guess, a D100 roll.
You'll also start hearing somebody's, well, Mr. Proctor's voice from the tent whenever they're turned in. He records all his thoughts into a wire recorder at night before going to bed.
Nice. I imagine you're a super loud snorer as well.
It's possible.
You wouldn't know, right?
It's true. He wouldn't be concerned.
Look at
So-
Chester rolling 11s.
I don't know. Oh, what's
Buy
going on?
yourself a lottery ticket.
Okay, we'll go in order. Okay, so Chester, give me a power roll.
Power. Okay.
You sleep through the night uninterrupted, quite happy in your forest setting, used to living out here amongst the wilds. All right, next up, Thomas, give me a power roll.
Where is power?
That's very top. Was she?
Very top. Thank you.
All right.
So he is a big snorer.
Yeah. The forest extends all around you. The path cuts and snakes its way between the trees, carpeted by freshly fallen yellow leaves that have begun to dry and wither as if a sickness infests them. You're walking slowly down the path of silence. Nothing moves but you. There is no wind. There is no sound. Everything is dead. You feel something calling you from further down the path, just out of sight. There's a clearing up ahead. Yellow light reflects off something. Could it be water? There's a snap of twig behind you as you turn to look. A sharp pain sinks into your chest as something plunges into you. You wake with a gasp and a splutter. All right, so next up, after 45 is 76. Nora, give me a power roll. Yellow leaves fall slowly from the thick roof of branches above. Blades of sunlight stab through the darkness. Ahead of you stands a dilapidated log cabin. The door swings slowly open and figures emerge. They advance slowly with purpose. You want to turn and run, but you can't take your eyes away from them. The muscles strain as your brain cries out for your limbs to work. You are powerless. The figures wear strange clothes. You hear the first one, a man's voice, as he comes closer. Come with us. Join us in his service. Embrace your new destiny and bask in its eternal glory. Its face is lifeless, pale and unblinking. A dark green smear of corruption spreads down the empty eye socket. It grins as its skin cracks. You wake in terror. Give me a sanity roll.
Oh my.
You lose 1 sanity.
The first sanity lost.
That's the first sanity lost. All right. After Nora is Mr. Proctor. Let's see. 2 bends. Mr. Proctor, give me a power roll.
I just click
What?
power.
Yeah.
What was my yellow thing that you said, Mike? Yellow light. Could it be water? Is that what you said?
Yes, yellow light possibly reflecting off of water, and yellow leaves along the path that look dead.
Okay.
All right, Benjamin Francis Proctor. Unusual setting. He's not used to sleeping out in the wilds, but he just conks right out. He doesn't give. I don't know. Life's easy. It's fine. He just sleeps. And then finally, Mr. Brady, give me a power roll.
It was the indigestion medicine. Made sure indigestion didn't keep him up.
All right. You stand on the shore of a stagnant lake. Black, stinking water lies before you, while the pale moon above reflects off its oily surface. An unhealthy yellow glow shines through the wooded tree line surrounding the lake. You feel their presence behind you, blocking your retreat. You stood there for hours, and now you know that the time is finally at hand. Strange light pulses from beneath the water. Tendrils rise slowly from the surface, writhing and twisting in the cold night air. As their ends, lids open. At their ends, lids open and blink, revealing inhuman eyes that look into your soul. An array of metallic spikes begin to thrust upwards as something huge rises to greet the night. Like polished metal, it glistens in the moonlight. The spines writhe and flex. You feel a sickening stab as something plunges into your chest. You wake screaming. Give me a sanity roll. Give me a D3. You lose one sanity point. So as you all awake, some of you none the wiser, and some of you having been terrorized by dreams in the night, we will end it there, and you can find out what the new day brings next week.